My sister moved into my house for a week. 6 months later, she walked out the front door with a suitcase in one hand and my husband's keys in the other. I still remember the sound that door made when it closed behind them. It wasn't a slam, no shouting, just a soft click. Like the lid being set on a life I thought I knew. But it didn't start with betrayal. It started with a phone call and a woman I'd spent half my life protecting. My name is Carla. I'm 38, a mother of two, and the oldest of three sisters. We grew up in an apartment where the floor always creaked and the fridge always needed something. Our mother worked nights at a nursing home, our father left when I was 12, and from that moment on, I became the responsible one. My middle sister, Lena, was always the wild one. Beautiful, impulsive, the kind of girl trouble found even if she stayed in bed. Men drifted in and out of her life like weather. Jobs, too. My youngest, Bri, moved out of state as soon as she could and never looked back. So when Lena called me crying on a Wednesday night, I didn't need to ask who she thought would fix it. I was in the kitchen making spaghetti, steam fogging the window over the sink. The kids, Jay, 9, and Zoe, 6, were in the living room arguing over the remote. My husband, Marcus, wasn't home yet. He worked late most weekdays managing a tire shop. My phone buzzed on the counter. I wiped my hands and glanced at the screen. Lena flashing with 3 missed calls already. I answered on the 4th ring. "You okay?" I asked, not even bothering with hello. Her voice came through thick with tears and the background noise of chaos. "Carla, he put me out," she sobbed. "Who?" "Dree," she choked. "He said I was ungrateful and crazy and told me to get my stuff out his place. I'm in the parking lot right now with my bags. It's raining. I can't go back to Mama's. She said she's too old for this. Can I please, just for a week? Just until I figure something out." I closed my eyes, pressing my temple with my fingers. My mind ran through the house. The kids' room already cramped, the little office we barely used, the never-ending bills. "A week," she'd said. "Come over," I told her. "We'll figure it out." By the time she arrived, rain had turned her eyeliner into black streaks. She stood in my doorway with 2 overstuffed duffel bags and a trash bag of clothes, shoulders shaking. "I'm so stupid," she said, dropping the bags with a thud. "I should have listened to you." "You're not stupid," I lied automatically. "You just love hard." She gave a short, bitter laugh. "Well, love just kicked me out with no place to go." I hugged her, feeling how thin she'd gotten. She smelled like cigarette smoke and that cheap vanilla body spray she'd been using since high school. Underneath it, I caught a whiff of something else, desperation. "We can put you in the office for now," I said. "It's small, but it's yours, a week, maybe 2. She nodded gratefully. "1 week," she promised. "I swear, I'll find my own place. I'm not gonna be a burden." I wanted to believe her. When Marcus came home that night, he walked into the living room, shook the rain off his jacket, and froze at the sight of Lena on our couch in his old T-shirt, legs folded under her. "Oh," he said, surprised. "Hey, stranger." She smiled weakly. "Hey, Marcus, long time." He looked at me, eyebrows raised. I wiped my hands on a dish towel. "Dree put her out," I explained. "She's staying with us for a week." He hesitated just a second, but then his face softened. "Yeah, of course," he said. "We got you, family first, right?" That's one of the reasons I fell for Marcus. He'd always been family first. When we started dadding 10 years earlier, he didn't blink at the fact that my mother came as part of the package, calling at odd hours, asking for rides. He'd drive her to the store, fix things in her apartment, show up with groceries when I couldn't stretch my paycheck. "Marrying you means marrying all of y'all," he'd joked when we got engaged. "Might as well get used to it." We built a life on that principle. We lived in a small 3-bedroom house on the edge of town. The kind of place you drive past without noticing unless you know which porch light flickers. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Mortgage, not rent. Jay and Zoe shared a room with bunk beds and drawings taped everywhere. Marcus and I had the biggest room, barely big enough for the bed and a dresser. The 3rd room, my office, was really a glorified closet with a desk, some bills, and a printer that only worked when it felt like it. Marcus and I had our routines. I worked part-time at the school across the street as an admin assistant, so I was usually home by 3, starting dinner, checking homework, breaking up sibling fights. Marcus rolled in around 6 most nights, smelling of rubber and sweat. He'd kiss my cheek, scoop a kid or two up, and ask, "What's on the menu, Chef Carla?" We weren't perfect. We argued about money, about his late nights sometimes, about me nagging and him tuning out. But we'd made it this far, 10 years of us. Having Lena in the house felt at first like slipping back into an old pair of shoes. She made the kids laugh with silly dances. She helped with dishes. She and Marcus joked like they always had, light teasing, shared memories from the early days when we were all younger, and the only bill we really worried about was whose turn it was to pay for takeout. The first few days, I was almost relieved. Another adult in the house. Someone to watch the stew while I helped Zoe with reading. Someone to run to the store if I forgot something. "You sure I can't give you anything?" she asked one night, sitting at the table with a bowl of my chicken and rice. "For rent or groceries?" "Save your money," I said. "You'll need a deposit for wherever you go next. Just help out around here. Don't leave all your stuff lying around. And don't get too comfortable." Marcus chuckled. That's Carla speak for don't act like a guest forever. Lena saluted me with her fork. "Yes, ma'am." If I'm honest, the first little flicker of something being off came from the kids. "Mama," Zoe said one morning, brushing her teeth, toothpaste foam on her chin. "Auntie Lena says she's gonna stay with us forever." I paused in the doorway. "She said that." Zoe nodded vigorously, spitting into the sink. "She said she likes our house better, 'cause we got snacks and Netflix she don't have to share." I smiled, but it didn't quite reach my eyes. "Well, grown-ups say a lot of things," I said. "Auntie's just happy to be here. She'll get her own place soon." Later that week, I overheard Lena on the phone in the office. Her room now. The door was mostly closed, but in this house, no sound is really private. "I'm good," she was saying. "Girl, I landed in a better spot anyway. Free rent, real food. And Marcus is still fine as ever." My hand froze on the laundry basket. I leaned in, heart thudding. "Nah, I'm not gonna mess up my sister's thing," she added quickly, voice dropping. "I'm not that grimy. I'm just saying it's nice to be around a man who actually fixes stuff instead of breaking it." I exhaled, forcing myself to move on, telling myself she was just talking. Lena has always drawn lines with her mouth first and crossed them later. That's her pattern. One evening, about 2 weeks into her 1-week stay, I came home from work to find Lena and Marcus in the kitchen, laughing over something on his phone. He was leaning against the counter, apron on, stirring a pot. She perched on the bar stool, elbows on the island, hair wrapped in a scarf, pajama shorts, and one of his old hoodies on. For a second, it looked domestic, too domestic. "What's funny?" I asked, setting my bag down. Marcus looked up, grinning. "I was showing Lena those stupid car memes I told you about," he said. "She gets my humor. You never laugh at these." "I laugh when they're funny," I replied, trying to make it a joke. "How was your day, Lena?" She turned, smiling. "So much better than trying to argue with Dree about leaving his socks on my couch," she said. "Your husband cooks. Do you know how blessed you are?" She said it like I wasn't the one who taught him how to season a pot properly. I brushed it off. Families joke, sisters tease, husbands like to feel appreciated. None of that is a crime. But that night, lying in bed, listening to Lena's soft music through the wall and Marcus snoring beside me, a thought crept in that I tried to crush as soon as it formed. What happens when a man who loves being needed lives with 2 women who both need him, in different ways? I pushed it away, told myself I was overthinking. I'd invited her. I'd said family first. This was the cost of being the responsible one. You didn't get to complain when people leaned on you. I didn't know, yet, that there's a difference between leaning on someone and moving into their life like you're planning to stay. The week faded into 3, then 4. Lena got a part-time job at a salon downtown, came home with tips in her bra and gossip on her tongue. Every time I brought up her moving, she had a reason. "I'm saving," she'd say. The market is crazy right now. I don't want to rush into another bad roommate situation. Landlords all want 3 times the rent. Who's got that just lying around? I understood. I also started to notice things. Her clothes in our laundry basket mixed with mine. Her shoes by the door next to Marcus's. Inside jokes between them about old songs and people I'd never met. It was still innocent enough to explain away, but the edges of my comfort were fraying. The real first crack came on a rainy Friday night, when I came home early and nobody heard me at the door. But that is another part of the story. That rainy Friday, the sky had the heavy, low look it gets when it can't decide if it's done crying. School had let out early because of a power issue. The office closed soon after. So instead of walking through my front door at my usual 5:30, I was home by 3. The house looked the same from the outside, little patch of grass, paint peeling on one side, our kids' bikes leaning against the porch rail. But when I stepped onto the porch, I realized something was off. The TV was on. I could hear it through the thin walls. A sitcom laugh track floated faintly to the porch. No kid voices, no dishes clanking, no footsteps. Usually that time of day, I'd hear Jay's game noises, Zoe's cartoons, Lena on the phone. Today, just low TV and a murmur of voices. I unlocked the door quietly, more out of habit than intention. That old door always stuck a little, but for once it opened smooth. They didn't hear me come in. Lena's laugh floated from the kitchen. Marcus's voice followed, not loud, but smooth in that way it got when he was relaxed. "You crazy," he said. "Ain't nobody doing all that." I slipped my shoes off, more to steady myself than to sneak. I set my bag down by the door, the zipper sound swallowed by another burst of canned laughter from the TV. Peeking around the corner, I saw them. They were in the kitchen, backs to me. Marcus at the stove, stirring something in a pan. Lena sitting on the counter, feet swinging, close enough that if he turned, his arm would brush her knee. She was wearing leggings and one of his T-shirts, the neck stretched wide so it slid off one shoulder. Her hair was wrapped up in a scarf, no makeup on, the kind of comfort you only let yourself have when you feel at home. There was a wine glass in her hand. His was on the counter near him, red wine, the cheap kind we bought only on special occasions. "Man, Dree never cooked for me once, asterisk," Lena was saying. His idea of romance was ordering wings and playing 2K until I fell asleep on the couch. Marcus laughed. "That, 'cause Dree is a clown," he said. "He don't know what to do with a good woman." She nudged his arm with her foot. "Oh, so I'm a good woman now," she teased. "I've always said that," he replied. "You just don't act like it sometimes." She giggled, tilting her head. "You the only one who ever took me serious," she said. "Carla too, but you saw me when I was a mess. You still came and picked me up." He shrugged, stirring. "Family," he said. "You my sister too." The words should have comforted me. Instead, they landed wrong. His tone wasn't the one he used for family. It was softer, shaded with something else. I stepped forward then, because if I stayed in the hallway one more second, I might start hearing more than was there. "I see we having a little happy hour," I said, keeping my voice light. They both jerked. Marcus glanced over his shoulder, surprise flickering across his face. Lena slid off the counter, tugging the T-shirt up as if she only just realized how it hung. "Hey," she said quickly, "you home early." "Power issue at the school," I said, hanging my coat on the chair. "Kids are with my coworker for an hour. Her place had lights. I figured I'd get a head start on dinner." Marcus coughed. "I was just throwing something together," he said. "Didn't know you'd be back yet." "Clearly," I said, eyeing the 2 glasses. He followed my gaze. "It's just wine," he said. "You want some?" "I'm good," I replied. My throat was too tight for anything else. Lena busied herself grabbing plates, moving around the kitchen a little too fast. "I was just telling Marcus about Dree's raggedy cooking," she said, forcing a laugh. "You know I always said I should have found somebody more like him." It was meant as a joke. It did not land like one. I said, turning to the sink to wash my hands. The water ran over my fingers, too hot. I stared at the backsplash, at the little crack in the tile I'd always meant to fix, and swallowed everything I wanted to say. That night, in bed, Marcus reached for me for the first time in weeks. His hand on my hip felt familiar and strange at the same time. "You okay?" he murmured, lips near my ear. I stared into the dark. "Are we?" I asked. He sighed, hand withdrawing. "Here you go," he muttered. "I was trying to be close." "Close is not just when you're in the mood," I said quietly. "Close is when you talk to me before my own sister starts wearing your shirts." He sat up halfway, turning on the lamp. The yellow light made the room look smaller. "You making something out of nothing," he said. "Lena didn't have clean clothes. I let her borrow a shirt. That's it. We drinking wine in our own house is not a crime." "I didn't say it was a crime," I replied. "I said it felt off. The way y'all were in there. The way she sat on the counter. The way you two have your whole little vibe now I'm not part of." He rubbed his face. "We can't even be friendly now," he snapped. "You the one who always talking about family first. Now when I treat your sister like family, you got a problem." "Treating her like family is feeding her, giving her a couch when she has nowhere to go," I said. "Treating her like more is drinking wine and sharing secrets while I'm at work and the kids are God knows where." His jaw clenched. "They were at your mama's," he shot back. "You knew that. Don't act like I left them in a ditch." I took a deep breath, lowered my tone. "Marcus, listen, I know you love my sister. I know you love helping people. It makes you feel needed. That's one of the things I love about you. But we need boundaries, clear ones." He flopped back onto his pillow, turning away from me. "You sound just like Bri," he muttered, "always assuming the worst." "Bri sees patterns," I said. "You see projects." He snorted. "Whatever." We went asleep with our backs to each other, a canyon of unsaid things between us. Over the next month, little things piled up. I'd come home and find Lena and Marcus watching a show I'd been meaning to start with him. "You weren't here," he'd say when I frowned. Lena started cooking more. At first, I was grateful, one less thing on my plate, but then she'd make Marcus's favorites on days I'd usually do the same. "Figured I'd give Chef Carla a break," she'd say. "You work so hard." It was always framed as helping me. It still somehow ended with my husband leaning back in his chair, rubbing his stomach, telling her, "Damn, you put your foot in this." They developed in jokes, looks passed over my head. If I walked into a room and conversation stopped, Lena would recover faster. "We were just talking about old times," she'd say. "You know, when we used to sneak out to those parties. Marcus remembers more than you." One night, Bri called from out of state. I sat on the porch, phone pressed to my ear, the cool air a relief from the heaviness inside. "How's it going with Lena?" she asked. I hesitated too long. "That bad," she said. "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe I'm paranoid. She's been good with the kids, she helps. But sometimes I feel like a guest in my own kitchen. And her and Marcus, they're close. Too close." "You really asking me?" Bri scoffed. "You know I never trusted that girl around anything that wasn't nailed down." "She's our sister," I said reflexively. "And," Bri replied, "you think family can't be foul. You know Lena's pattern. Soon as a man makes her feel safe, she forgets whose couch she slept on last." "That's mean," I said, even as a part of me agreed. "It's honest," Bri said. "Look, I love her, but I love you more, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is." "Marcus would never," I said quickly, too quickly. "Would never is free," she replied. "Actions cost, watch the actions." I hung up feeling more unsettled than before. The real fracture happened the night of Jay's parent-teacher conference. Marcus was supposed to meet me there. We planned it a week ahead. My shift at the school ended at 3, the conference was at 5. He said he'd come straight from the shop. At 5:30, I sat in a too-small chair in Jay's classroom, listening to his teacher talk about great potential if he'd just focus more, glancing at the door every few minutes. "He had a rough start this year," she said, "but he's improved. I really wanted to talk to both of you about strategies to keep him on track. His dad got caught up at work, I lied. He cares, I promise, it's just life. By 6, when I walked out to the parking lot with Jay holding my hand, my phone buzzed. Marcus, sorry, babe. Lena wasn't feeling good, I had to take her to urgent care. Everything okay with the conference? My stomach dropped. Urgent care. No call. No, can you handle this? Jay's conference is important, but I'm worried about your sister. Just a text after the fact. At home, Lena was on the couch, Netflix playing. No bandages, no prescription bags in sight. You okay? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She shrugged, pulling the blanket tighter around her. Just a little dizzy earlier, she said. Marcus freaked out, you know how he is. They said it's probably stress. Probably stress. Marcus walked in from the kitchen, wiping his hands. Everything good at the school? He asked, like he'd just missed a casual dinner, not a meeting about our son's future. Fine, I said shortly. You didn't think to call, to ask if I needed you there before you rushed Lena to urgent care for probably stress. A flash of guilt crossed his face. Then he bristled. I'm sorry I care about your sister's health, he said. Excuse me for not scheduling emergencies around your calendar. Marcus, I said slowly, trying not to explode in front of the kids, you are not her husband. You are mine. Your first call when something happens should be to me, especially when we have something important planned. Jay noticed you weren't there. Jay, sensing the tension, had already slunk off to his room. Zoe peeked around the corner, eyes wide. We'll talk later, Marcus muttered, storming out to the porch. Lena watched him go, biting her lip. Then she looked at me, eyes big, faux innocent. Don't be mad at him, she said softly. He was just worried. He said you've been so stressed, he didn't want to burden you with me being sick too. That sentence told me everything I needed to know. He'd been talking to her about me, about my stress, my moods, my supposed fragility, painting himself as the go-between, the caretaker for both of us. That night, I slept restless, waking up every hour from dreams where my house had too many rooms and I couldn't find my own bed. The next day, I stopped by Lena's door on my way to work. We need to talk about you finding another place, I said. Her eyes widened. Already, she protested. I thought. It's been 3 months, I said. I love you, I want to see you stable. But this setup isn't healthy, for any of us. Her jaw tightened. Are you kicking me out? She snapped, like Dree did. I'm asking you to honor what you promised, I replied. A week turned into months. You've got a job now. You've been saving. It's time. She crossed her arms. I thought family first, she said, using my own words like a blade. Guess that only counts when it doesn't inconvenience you. I swallowed. Family first doesn't mean my marriage and kids always last, I said. We have to find a balance. She scoffed, turned her back to me. Whatever, Carla, I get it. I'm the problem again. I left for work with a knot in my chest. I told myself I'd give her a deadline, 2 weeks. I'd help her find a room, a studio, something. I didn't know then that Lena had already found herself a new place, one that came with my husband's toothbrush on the sink. The morning I found out was a Tuesday. Ordinary, trash day. What wasn't ordinary was the text I got from my neighbor at 7:00 a.m. Girl, you up, because I just saw something you might want to know about. Would you like me to continue to part 3, where the truth finally comes out? They leave together, and I have to decide how to rebuild my life after both my sister and my husband walk out.